Hello everyone, Alex here from Blutelligence. Thank you for joining this webinar. Last year we released the new version 24.2 and I'd like to introduce you the most exciting features. At the same time, I'll also provide an overview of the roadmap. So let's not waste any time and dive straight into the webinar. Let's begin with some release-related information. The new release 24.2 was published a few weeks ago and you received the setup in the email. Alternatively, you can download the latest version from the portal. Please pay attention to the instructions in the email. So create a backup of the database to avoid data loss, and the minimum version required for this update is 23.1. So now let's move on to the new features of the Performer Suite, and we'll start with some general improvements. So let's start with a functional improvement. Imagine you want to document an SAC story. And not just that, you also want to document all underlying objects across systems. In other words, a complete documentation of the corresponding data model. If you're using older Performer Suite versions, you would have needed to create a scenario and add structure elements, assign the objects to the scenario, a fairly time-consuming process depending on the use case. The good news? This effort is drastically reduced with the new version 24.2. With just one click, you can document the entire data model. This is done using the function document data flow. Experienced Performer Suite users may already know this feature from earlier versions. In previous versions, it was already possible to document the entire data flow of an info provider down to the data source. Let me now explain how we've enhanced this functionality. The first improvement, the feature can now also be used for SAC stories, Datasphere views, or BW queries. At the same time, data sources are no longer the limit, so we can document as far as possible, capturing all objects we can identify in the data flow. So let's take a closer look at this in the tool. So I will open the Performer Suite, and then you can find the function here, document entire data flow in the quick access settings, but you can also find it in the general settings. So if I click here on this button, then you can see in general export this feature, document entire data flow. And you can also click on this sub option, select specific objects for documentation. I will explain you later what you can do with this option. So I will activate it. Let's save this. And now I would like to document a specific story, this one. So I will right click on this object, I will go to create documentation, I will select Word as output format, and then in the next step, we see this pop-up window. So now I can add additional restrictions. So I can add a specific path of objects which shouldn't be considered for documentation. For example, maybe I don't want to see the ADSO and all objects below, and so on. So here I have the possibility to add more restrictions. And then I can click on apply. Okay, while we wait, I'd like to highlight a few points. The Performer Suite documents all objects it can identify based on the data flow function, so what you see here. If you notice that objects are missing in the documentation, it's worth analyzing the data flow of this object, so as you can see here. So in my example, you can see these objects, story, model, query, composite provider, the 4 ADSOs, the transformations, of course, and the data sources are considered for the export. If objects are also missing there, it may be necessary to maintain the mapping between the systems. So you have to go here to maintain source system mappings. And as you can see here, I created a relation between the different systems, my BW and Datasphere system, BW and SAC, also S4 and BW, and so on. And of course, the Performer Suite can only identify objects from systems that are licensed. Okay, so now we can open the Create documentation. So I'll click on this and I will insert it to the screen. Okay, so here we see the result of the documentation, a complete data flow documentation with minimal effort. And we see the story, for example, and then you see also an overview of the data flow with all the objects, so the data flow net review, and so on. Yeah, so feel free to try it out yourself and share your feedback with us. Let's move on to the next topic. Now I would like to talk about CDS views. More and more customers are relying on CDS views and virtual data models, especially those using S/4HANA. The new version provides greater transparency in several areas. So let's start with the BW data flow. So some customers use ABAP CDS views for data extraction from S4 to BW4. This dependency between the BW data source and the S4 CDS view is now visually represented in the data flow. So therefore I will jump once again to the Performer Suite and I will open this query. And next I will click this button, Show Complete Data Flow below. And now you will see that we display also the CDS views below the data sources and also the entire data flow of the CDS views until the S4 tables. So this enhancement helps BI developers trace such data flows faster and gain a better overview of dependencies. Let's talk about another CDS-related topic, so the CDS extended fields. If you want to extend the CDS view with an additional field, but don't want to modify the original CDS view itself, you can achieve this using CDS view extensions. So you create a CDS view extension, define the additional field within it, and specify its source. When a CDS view is used in queries or reports, the new field will appear. The problem, this added field is not visible in the original CDS view, resulting in a lack of transparency. Our new features shed light on this issue. So I will open the Performer Suite once again, and the first function I want to show is this one, List Extended CDS View. So I can start the analysis, and now you will see that we list all the CDS view which were extended in such a way. So here you see all the objects, and you see the CDS views, you see also the extended fields, and also the source table and the source fields. So everything is displayed here. And another improvement, if I document such a CDS view, which was extended in this way, so now you see that we have a new chapter, extended fields, and we list this extended fields in an additional chapter. Here you see the extended field, the description, the source object, the source field, and so on. Everything you also saw in the analysis results. Okay, so you can see that those two, that the analysis function, also the extend documentation, provide an excellent overview of which CDS views have been extended in this way and which fields are involved. All right, so let's move on to a feature requested we implemented. One of our customers uses ABAP classes and planning functions. The planning functions are then used in planning sequences, which are then triggered by process chains. The customer was interested in having an overview of this indirect usage of classes within process chains at a glance. To address this, we extended the usage analysis or the way use analysis for classes. So if I analyze the class via a way used analysis, so I do a right click, and then I click on way used analysis, you now have the option to choose the level at which you want to check the class usage. So just the first level, so I could say only the planning function, or the second level with the planning sequences, or the usage in process chains. And if I click on Start Analysis, you will see that we display the results in the tab Nested Usage. And here you see the analyzed class, that this class is used in this planning function is used in the sequence, and it is triggered by this process chain. You can, of course, also check the usage of planning functions and sequences within process chains, meaning you can start on a level higher, and we will display you also this kind of nested usage result. All right, let's move on to the next optimization. I will open for this the presentation once again. Some of you may be familiar with the constant value scan feature. This feature allows you to scan transformations, DTPs, queries, and restricted key figures for specific values. However, there was a problem with this. The function was scanning so many places at once that some customers reported performance issues. Specifically, imagine you want to scan only queries and restricted key figures for the characteristic selection euro. However, all transformations were also being checked to see if this value was used as a constant. We will solve this issue in the new version. So when the feature is activated, or if you start the function, a window pops up where you can precisely define where the usage should be checked. So if I now want to check, for example, let me just open the function, constant value scan. I will insert a euro here and start the scan. So if I want now to check in which queries and key figures the characteristic unit zero currency is restricted to euro, I can proceed as follows. So I insert the euro value here. I select only queries, and then I can click on this button and insert the characteristic zero currency. And then I can start the function. And as you can see now in results, I have here this query and this restricted key figure where euro is selected for zero currency. So as you can see, we significantly improved both the performance and the range of options for this function. So let's move on to the last feature I want to present today. And it's about Datasphere objects, the Datasphere objects intelligent lookups. For those who haven't delved deeply into Datasphere yet, intelligent lookups enable automated linking of data from different sources, even if they have different formats or naming conventions. This can be achieved with rules such as fuzzy matching, where you can define thresholds for when a match occurs. And as a result, data can be merged efficiently and without errors, and no manual adjustments needed. The new Performer Suite version allows for extracting more detailed information about the source objects. We now display both input and lookup objects in a documentation, as you can see here. And we also displayed more information regarding the rules, which was the rule which was defined. So here I have exact rule, for example, we see the match columns and so on. And of course, we also extended the data models. So now you can also do a downwards data flow for intelligent lookups. And as you can see here, we display also the source objects. Okay, speaking of Datasphere, if we look at the roadmap, we can see that the Datasphere connector will continue to be enhanced. So we will support analytic models and task chains, and we will also support the where used analysis. So if you want to know where an ADSO is used in which remote table in Datasphere, you will be able to do this in the next versions. We will also work on SAC features, so we will enhance information of planning models. So there we will also be able to display the build-up, the dimensions and measures. We will support data actions, multi-actions, and also analysis for office reports on SAC. In S/4HANA, we will offer a full support for the new CDS view entities, and you will be able to execute a where used analysis for S4 tables and data sources, where you can see a CDS-based extraction, so what I showed you before. We will also support transactions and flow graphs in HANA. Of course, we will also implement feature requests. So here you can see a list of those feature requests. You can also find this list in our user manual. So we will identify queries with possible formula collisions, DTPs were used in process chains, and so on. Okay, so let's move on to the last topic I'd like to cover. As you surely know, we are not exclusively focused on optimizing the Performer suite. We also have two other tools with the Metadata API and our own data catalog solution, the Enterprise Glossary. We've been working intensively on the latter product in recent months, and the result is a version that provides business users with comprehensive SAP insights. A key highlight is that for the first time, we are extending our capabilities to include a connector for Power BI, so outside of the SAP ecosystem. And here you can also see some information regarding the Enterprise Glossary. So it's a premise data catalog where you can create sync jobs so that the metadata of SAP and Power BI objects is integrated automatically and presented in an understandable way for business and IT. So if you want to empower your business users to successfully implement self-service BI, feel free to contact us for more information via our website or check out our videos on our YouTube channel. All right, so if you were unfamiliar with some functions or were confused by options, then I recommend our free video course in our Brutelligence Academy. And all new features, changes, and bug fixes are listed in our version history. If you have questions or problems with the update, please feel free to contact our help desk. Okay, that's all from my side. Thank you for your attention. I hope you will join us for future webinars as well. Have a great day and see you soon. Bye-bye.